Sometimes, even the most reliable players don't get the individual recognition they deserve.
See you later! Oh, that's a catch!
Over the years, plenty of All-Pros and even a Hall of Famer have missed out on the Pro Bowl.
Caught into the end zone! House goal! Wide open!
You could put together a championship-caliber team with these overlooked players, and that's just what we'll do. Here are the best players at every position never to make a Pro Bowl.
You'll hear it. Ooh, want your punter making hits like that.
It might shock you that Joe Flacco has been snubbed after all these years. Following an epic 2012 postseason, we asked if the Super Bowl 47 MVP was elite.
I don't care what you call it, Superman, elite.
Flacco tied an NFL record with 11 touchdowns and no interceptions in that playoff run. The former first-round pick led Baltimore to 6 playoff appearances. 2014 would have been his best Pro Bowl case with nearly 4,000 passing yards and 27 touchdowns.
56 yards!
Flacco has hung around the league for 17 seasons through 2024, winning games with 5 different franchises. The 2023 Comeback Player of the Year has the most passing yards and touchdowns among non-Pro Bowl QBs in history. We'll highlight a few honorable mentions for each position, starting with Pats legend Steve Grogan. He played his entire 16-year career with New England, leading them to 3 playoff trips and an AFC East title in 1978. His 12 rushing touchdowns in 76 stood as an NFL single-season QB record for 35 years. From one Patriot to another, Jim Plunkett, a former Heisman winner and first overall pick, played 5 seasons with New England before moving to Oakland, where he won 2 rings and was named MVP of Super Bowl 15.
Throwing for King, could go all the way. 40, 30, touchdown Oakland!
Before Jim Kelly and Josh Allen, Joe Ferguson was Buffalo's QB1. He tied a league high in TD passes back in 1975. Then he paced the NFL in passing yards in 1977. Hard to imagine being left off the Pro Bowl with those stats. Nevertheless, Ferguson led the Bills to 3 playoff berths and a division title in 1980. Imagine leading the league in total touchdowns but not receiving an invite to the Pro Bowl.
Eckler, house goal!
That was Austin Eckler's reality 2 years in a row. From 2021 to 22, no player in the NFL scored more TDs than the great Chargers back. Eckler helped LA record 19 wins over those 2 years, including a playoff berth in 2022. You fantasy owners know how valuable this guy was. Eckler caught 323 passes from 2019 to 2022, easily the most among running backs. He's racked up 3 1,500-yard seasons from scrimmage and scored the most touchdowns by a running back who's never been named to the Pro Bowl. Reggie Bush was another versatile star who tallied over 10,000 career all-purpose yards.
Reggie Bush, see you later!
The Super Bowl champ recorded over 1,000 yards from scrimmage with 3 different teams. Eagles star Deuce Staley continues the theme of overlooked do-it-all backs. He averaged close to 100 total yards per game from 1998 to 2002. Staley helped the Birds win 3 straight division titles and later won a Super Bowl in Pittsburgh. 6'4", 264 pounds of pure power, nobody wanted to tackle Brandon Jacobs. The Giants rusher won a pair of rings and scored 15 touchdowns in 2008, still snubbed from the Pro Bowl though. Fullbacks often lack recognition and spots on the Pro Bowl roster. With only 1 or 2 selected each season, it's tough even for a 2-time Super Bowl champ to make the cut. Tom Rathman was vital to the Niners throughout the late 80s and early 90s. He paved the way for Roger Craig, who won Offensive Player of the Year in 1988. Rathman racked up over 4,700 yards from scrimmage and 34 touchdowns during his career. He was part of 7 division title-winning teams and 8 seasons with San Fran, but even a 73-catch season wasn't enough to get him to Hawaii. A few more studs to note: Jim Kleinsasser was your typical H-back in Minnesota from 1999 to 2011. He was a key player on 6 top 10 offenses with the Vikes, blocking for a number of the league's top rushing attacks in 2002 and 2007. Known as Pittsburgh's bus driver, Dan Kreider cleared the path for Jerome Bettis in a smash-mouth era of Steelers football.
Bettis is in for the touchdown.
The fullback wore the black and gold from 2000 to 2007. Pittsburgh had the second most rushing yards in the NFL in that span. Moving to receiver, Joey Galloway was one of the league's greatest speedsters. He scored 41 touchdowns through his first 4 seasons in Seattle. Galloway even tied for the league lead in punt return touchdowns twice.
30-yard line, down the sideline, he's gone.
His best year, though, came in 2005 with the Bucs, nearly 1,300 receiving yards and 10 scores.
Joey Galloway was down the right sideline. Did he stay in bounds? It appears that he did.
But that still wasn't enough. He's the only player with 10,000 career receiving yards to be snubbed from the Pro Bowl. There's a deep list of prolific pass catchers in this category, and we'll spotlight the overlooked group, beginning with the great Marcus Colston. The former 7th-round pick was crucial to the Saints' Super Bowl title in 2009. As Drew Brees' top receiver for most of his 10 career seasons, Colston is the all-time franchise leader in several receiving categories. 3-time Super Bowl champ Julian Edelman thrived in the slot, making life easier for Tom Brady. He made big play after big play, resulting in 3 1,000-yard seasons. His catch of a lifetime in Super Bowl 51 will go down as an all-time moment in Boston sports history.
Oh, that's a catch. Oh my God, that's incredible.
Amani Toomer averaged over 1,100 yards per season from 1999 to 2003. The Giants' all-time leading receiver was integral to New York's success in that era. They captured 4 division titles and one of the all-time greatest upsets in Super Bowl 42. The lightning-quick Brandon Cooks has bounced from team to team to team throughout his career, but he's quietly produced everywhere. He's on pace to join Galloway on the 10,000-yard receiving list. On to tight ends now, and we'll anoint Bob Tucker as the best to never make a Pro Bowl.
Number 38, Bob Tucker, was back in the Giants lineup and showed just how valuable he is to the New York attack.
He played 8 fantastic seasons in New York before finishing his career in Minnesota. No tight end in the NFL had more receiving yards from 1970 to 1976. In 1971, he ranked 2nd in the entire league in receptions regardless of position. The next year, he led all tight ends in catches. Somehow, still no Pro Bowls. Tucker had another 500-yard season with the Vikes in 1978 and ended his career with over 5,400 yards. We kick off the honorable mentions with Ben Watson, who should have made a Pro Bowl based on this play alone.
Off, and he gets away from the one man who had a shot at him. Talk about a game changer. Bailey's before Watson comes in at the last minute.
Watson won a Super Bowl with the Patriots in his rookie year. He played a whopping 15 seasons, none better than 2015. Catching passes from Drew Brees in New Orleans, Watson racked up a career-high 825 yards. He has the most catches, receiving yards, and touchdowns by any non-Pro Bowl tight end in history. Since his rookie season in 2018, Dallas Goedert has been top 10 in the league among tight ends in receptions, yards, and touchdowns. He's helped Philly make 6 playoff trips, winning 3 division titles and a George Halas Trophy. We know one thing: Hunter Henry is good for about 50 catches and 600 yards per season.
Henry extending for the catch, and he's got it, first down.
Though the reliable tight end has yet to have a true breakout campaign, there's still time for him to find a way onto a Pro Bowl roster. Time to show love to the big guys. We'll begin with Mitchell Schwartz, who made a living for himself at right tackle. It's much tougher for that position to be recognized, considering most aren't protecting the QB's blind side. Despite this, Schwartz made a first-team All-Pro in 2018, the same year the Chiefs boasted the NFL's top offense.
Mitch just bulldozed. That's what you want to do in the run game.
Schwartz helped Patrick Mahomes win MVP and the Super Bowl a year later. Schwartz was first or second team All-Pro in 4 straight seasons, yet never received a Pro Bowl invite. And oh yeah, Schwartz didn't miss a single start through his first 8 seasons. The Saints' Ryan Ramczyk deserves recognition too. He helped New Orleans win 4 straight NFC titles with some of the league's most potent offenses. Ramczyk even made first-team All-Pro in 2019. Former first-round pick Jeff Backus was the Lions' left tackle for 12 seasons. In 2011, he protected Matthew Stafford during his 5,000-yard passing season. As reliable as they come, Backus started all but one game in his career.
3rd and goal. Play fake and then wide open. Anthony Costanzo on a tackle eligible.
Despite his elite playmaking abilities, Anthony Costanzo was Indy's blindside protector for 10 seasons. The Colts made 5 playoff appearances and won 2 AFC South titles while he was there. They finished with a top 10 offense 4 times during his tenure, including the #1 passing attack in 2014. Shockingly, Buffalo guard Reggie McKenzie never garnered a Pro Bowl nod. This is a guy who helped O.J. Simpson surpass 2,000 rushing yards in a 14-game season. McKenzie was even named first-team All-Pro that year. Guess it wasn't enough for the Pro Bowl voters. The Electric Company O-line helped Simpson win the rushing crown 3 other times, with McKenzie playing a key part. Dave Zott commanded the interior of those powerhouse Chiefs teams of the 90s. Marty Schottenheimer relied on a heavy run game en route to 7 playoff appearances in the decade. Zott was named first-team All-Pro in 1997 and blocked for 3 top 10 offenses in Kansas City. Guard John Ayers was an anchor for the Niners O-line just as their 80s dynasty was getting started. San Francisco relied on that 10 years of toughness every bit of the way. Rewind to a previous dynasty where Fuzzy Thurston was opening up running lanes for the 1960s Packers. The 6-time NFL champ was named to a pair of All-Pro teams and blocked for 3 NFL MVPs. The Jaguars' all-time leader in games played is arguably the best center to never receive a Pro Bowl invite. Brad Meester commanded the Jacksonville offensive line for 14 years, making the postseason in 2005 and 7. Meester helped the Jags finish as a top 10 rushing attack 5 times from 2005 to 2010.
Another electric run.
He blocked for Pro Bowl quarterback David Garrard and the 2 top rushers in franchise history. Give it up for an unheralded center. How about Jerry Fontenot, who played an astounding 239 games? He made 3 playoff appearances in Chicago, helping the Bears' rush attack finish in the top 10 on 5 occasions. Fontenot later landed in New Orleans, where his Saints won the NFC West title in 2000. Former guard turned center Tom Rafferty helped Dallas win a Super Bowl in his 2nd season and enjoyed 6 division titles. Rafferty contributed to a Cowboys top 10 offense every year from 1976 to 1983. Center Todd McClure played all 13 seasons in Atlanta, protecting franchise quarterbacks Michael Vick and Matt Ryan. The Falcons made 6 trips to the playoffs, winning 3 division titles with McClure anchoring the line. Switching over to the defensive side of the ball now, no better place to start with DN Jim Jeffcoat.
Transformed second-year defensive end Jim Jeffcoat from a player with potential into a potential star.
The man had 102.5 career sacks, the most ever for any non-Pro Bowl pass rusher. Jeffcoat notched 5 double-digit sack seasons and ranks in the top 40 all-time. He was also a takeaway machine with 18 forced fumbles and 4 defensive scores.
And Jim Jeffcoat is going to run this back the length of the field.
Jeffcoat played on 4 top 10 defenses with the Cowboys, reaching the playoffs 6 times, winning back-to-back Super Bowls in the early 90s. Carl Big Daddy Hairston recorded 96 career sacks unofficially and helped the Eagles get all the way to Super Bowl 15. He'd go on to tally almost 40 sacks for those great Browns teams of the 80s. One of the most beloved Giants ever, George Martin, played all 201 career games in the Big Apple. He was rewarded with a Super Bowl in his 12th NFL season. Martin recorded 96 sacks unofficially and 5 defensive touchdowns, not too shabby.
45, Elway takes him and breaks the tackle. 40, 35, 30 for Martin. Martin to the 20, Martin to the 10. He's in!
The forgotten man on Vince Lombardi's great defenses. Lionel Aldridge was overshadowed by Nitschke, Wood, Adderley, Jordan, and so many more Green Bay Hall of Famers, but the outstanding pass rusher was the real deal, helping the Pack win 3 straight NFL titles in the 60s. The early Cowboys were forged by defensive mastermind Tom Landry, who built a brick wall on the defensive line. Jethro Pugh was perhaps overshadowed by all-time great Bob Lilly, but his pair of D tackles was as good as you'll ever see.
Jethro Pugh was Bob Lilly's partner at tackle. He possessed all of Lilly's speed, but had more size and led all Cowboys in trampling quarterbacks.
Pugh was a cornerstone of the 60s and 70s Cowboys, who made 12 playoff appearances, won 10 division titles, and 2 Super Bowls during his outstanding 14 years. He was named second-team All-Pro in 1968, where he was later credited with 15.5 sacks unofficially. The Dallas defense ranked in the top 10 for 9 straight years during the 70s. Reuben Carter was the immovable nose tackle for the Broncos' Orange Crush defense. He earned a second-team All-Pro selection in 1977 when Denver reached the Super Bowl. Over his 12-year career, he contributed on 6 playoff teams and 7 top 10 defensive finishes. Miami's Manny Fernandez tied for 9th in MVP voting in 1970, a rare feat for a defensive tackle. As a key player on the Dolphins' no-name defense, he won 2 Super Bowls and played a huge part on 8 top 10 scoring defenses, including the number 1 unit in 1972. If Jim Osborne had played just one more season, he'd be a Super Bowl champion. The former Chicago Bear played from 1972 to 84 and compiled the 4th most sacks in franchise history, unofficially of course. Outside linebacker Simon Fletcher had a remarkable career despite never making a Pro Bowl. He ranks 2nd in Broncos history with 97.5 sacks, behind only Von Miller.
Simon Fletcher got the arm on him and brought him down, a loss of 4 yards.
Fletcher recorded the 2nd most sacks in the league from 1989 to 93, just behind Hall of Famer Reggie White. Like Jeffcoat, Fletcher's one of just 14 players to achieve double-digit sacks and 100 tackles in a season.
The bird going back. Here's Fletcher. Hits him. The ball is loose.
He played all 11 seasons in Denver, where he led the Broncos to 4 top 10 defensive finishes. Fletcher averaged 12.5 sacks per season from 1988 to 1993, but never got a taste of the Pro Bowl. And these were Super Bowl caliber teams he was playing on. What a shame. Stan White accomplished some unique feats in his 11-year career. His 34 interceptions are the most all-time by a linebacker. He picked off 8 passes in 1975. That's still a single-season record for a linebacker. White followed that up with 7 more picks in 1977. Keep in mind, he was a 17th round pick back in 1972. Longtime Bengal Reggie Williams could do it all. He played his entire 14-year career in Cincy, amassing 16 interceptions, 23 fumble recoveries, and 60-plus sacks. Williams also helped lead Cincy to its first Super Bowl appearance in 1981. Former first-round pick Leonard Floyd has been a valuable asset on 4 teams so far in his 9-year career. Carlos Dansby was an unsung hero.
Gets a hand to the face, the ball is out, the Arizona Cardinals win it.
The 14-year NFL vet racked up nearly 1,500 career tackles on 4 teams from 2004 to 2017. Dansby spent his prime in Arizona, where he helped the Cards make it to Super Bowl 43. The versatile linebacker is one of 3 players ever to have a season of 120 tackles, 6 sacks, 4 interceptions, and 2 pick sixes.
Carlos Dansby, who dances in for the touchdown.
43 sacks, 20 interceptions, and 7 defensive touchdowns if you include the playoffs. Dansby was named second-team All-Pro in 2013, but we think he deserves a lot more credit. Unsung middle linebacker Mike Peterson was a stalwart for 3 different franchises. After leading the NFL in tackles with the Colts in 2000, he went on to the Jags, where they finished as a top 10 scoring defense in 4 of Peterson's 6 seasons with the team. He made the postseason 8 times in 14 years. Darryl Smith was Mike Peterson's running mate in Jacksonville for 5 seasons, helping the Jags reach the playoffs twice, 8 seasons with 80-plus tackles and a league-high 5 forced fumbles with the Ravens in 2014. It's almost unfathomable that Jets great David Harris never earned a Pro Bowl selection.
It's picked up by David Harris, who gets away from Brady. What a turn of events!
He anchored the Jets defense from 2007 to 2016, going 7 straight seasons without missing a game. He was vital to New York's back-to-back AFC championship runs, leading the league's top defense in 2009. Cornerback was the easiest position to fill on this list. Hall of Famer Ken Riley is undoubtedly the greatest player without a Pro Bowl selection.
Intercepted by Kenny Riley, and it'll be a touchdown.
He has the 5th most interceptions in league history. How did no one notice? Maybe it's because his teammate Lamar Parrish made 6 Pro Bowls while they played together. Riley also had to compete with the likes of Mel Blount, Mike Haynes, and Emmett Thomas on the AFC Pro Bowl roster. During his 15 seasons, he made 5 playoff appearances, including a run to the Super Bowl in 1981.
The top pass interceptor in Cincinnati history, Riley gets a big one in the playoffs.
Riley had 7 seasons with 5 or more picks, tied for 3rd most in history. He ended his career with a first-team All-Pro selection in 1983. Following in the footsteps of Deion Sanders, former 5th overall pick Terrell Buckley was a 2-sport star out of FSU, and he was a big-time playmaker in the pros too.
And Terrell Buckley trying to go 100 the other way.
Buckley played 14 seasons on 6 different teams. 1998 in Miami would have been his best case. 8 picks for the NFL's #1 scoring defense. 50 career INTs for the great corner. Mike Bass scored the only points against the undefeated Dolphins in Super Bowl VII.
Yepremian has it. Throws a pass up with the ball. There's Mike Bass. He's running away for a touchdown.
The cornerback helped lead 5 top 10 scoring defenses in 7 seasons with Washington. He was named a 2nd-team All-Pro in 1974, but was forced to retire at age 30 due to a neck injury. Journeyman corner Johnny Sample notched 4 seasons with at least 6 interceptions, only to be snubbed from Pro Bowls and AFL All-Star teams. He won 2 NFL championships with Baltimore in the 50s and later defeated them in Super Bowl III with the Jets in '68. From 1978 to 1988, nobody in the league picked off more passes than free safety John Harris.
Opposing receivers knew that the man to watch out for was safety John Harris.
The Ball Hawk spent his first 8 seasons in Seattle, and even his 10 picks in 1981 weren't enough for any individual accolades. A couple years later, Harris helped the Seahawks reach the AFC Championship. He amassed 50 career interceptions, tied for the most all-time by a non-Pro Bowl safety. Harris finished top 10 in interceptions 3 times, placing 2nd in 1981. He ended his career with 3 solid seasons in Minnesota. If a league-high 10 picks for a division champion isn't enough to get you to the Pro Bowl, we're not sure what is. That's what Lyle Blackwood did for the Colts in 1977. Blackwood spent 14 seasons in the league with 4 teams, making 2 Super Bowls with the Dolphins in the early 80s. Darren Perry was the starting free safety for Bill Cowher's Steelers, contributing to their Super Bowl appearance in 1995. He averaged 85 tackles and 5 picks per season in Pittsburgh. Perry led a top 10 defense in 4 straight campaigns from 93 to 96. Undrafted free agent Michael Downs patrolled Tom Landry's secondary in the 80s. 3 seasons with at least 6 interceptions, but 1984 was his best. 9 total takeaways and multiple sacks for the 2nd-team All-Pro. Moving on to strong safety, the Eagles' Randy Logan patrolled the secondary for 11 seasons in Philly. The Birds had a top 10 scoring defense in 7 of them.
Randy Logan is the leader of the secondary. He is also its best player, equally tough against the run or pass.
Philly made 4 straight playoff trips from 1978 to 1981. Logan was a 2nd-team All-Pro in 1980, the Eagles' first ever Super Bowl season. The following year, the Birds allowed the fewest passing yards in the NFL. Logan's toughness and consistency was unmatched. He appeared in every single game of his career. Rams and Eagles DB Don Burrows averaged 5 interceptions per season over 10 years. He tied a career-high 9 picks in 1960, the same year Philly won the NFL title. Ray Brown spent his entire career in the NFC West, playing for the Falcons and the Saints. He had 14 total interceptions from 1973 to 1974. Brown was a member of the greatest scoring defense of the modern era, Atlanta allowing just 9 points per game in 1977.
And number 34, multi-talented Ray Brown was again one of the league's best.
Rounding out our strong safeties is Jim Kearney, who played 12 seasons and won a Super Bowl with the Chiefs in 1969. 4 pick sixes in 1972 wasn't enough for Pro Bowl recognition. Mason Crosby made his fair share of clutch kicks for the Packers.
This to send the Packers into the NFC Championship game. It is good!
Crosby enjoyed a 17-year career with 12 playoff appearances and 9 NFC North titles. From 2007 to 2022, he made the most field goals and extra points in the league. Crosby sits 15th and 6th all-time, respectively, in those categories. His predecessor in Green Bay was Ryan Longwell, who twice led the NFL in extra points made. Longwell finished his 16-year career with the Vikings and Seahawks, ranking 22nd in career field goals made. When you last 17 years as an NFL kicker, you're doing something right.
So he's happy.
As long as he made that 53-yarder, he has no problem.
Al Del Greco spent his prime with the Oilers and Titans in the 90s. He made the most field goals in the league in 1998. Pete Stoyanovich made the second most field goals in the league during the 90s. He was first-team All-Pro with Miami in 1992. The longtime Dolphins and Chiefs star paced the NFL with a 96% success rate in 1997.
It is good! Oh my! Kansas City wins!
Donnie Jones, a.k.a. Donnie Longball, a.k.a. Thunderfoot, was a 2-time second-team All-Pro with the Rams and wasn't afraid of a little contact.
Let's go Parrish has an open track. He has Jones to beat. Jones puts a hard shot on him.
He averaged a tremendous 50 yards per punt in 2008 and paced the league in total yardage a couple years later. Jones spent time with 5 other teams, including Philly's 2017 Super Bowl squad. Mike Cyphris was a Charger for life, holding the franchise record for total punt yardage.
Watch this one sail. And what a punt by Cyphris.
He was a member of 6 playoff teams in San Diego, winning 4 straight division titles from 2006 to 2009. David Lee spent all 13 years of his career with the Colts. He sits second in total punt yards in franchise history and won Super Bowl V with Baltimore. Lee Johnson's NFL career spanned 3 decades, most of which was spent with Cincinnati, where he did a lot of punting for one of the worst teams of the 90s. Ted Ginn Jr. put the world on notice when he took the opening kickoff to the house in the 2006 National Championship game. That would foreshadow a 14-year NFL career where Ginn did it all. The top 10 pick had over 2,000 all-purpose yards as a rookie in Miami. In 2009, he became the first player in NFL history with 2 touchdowns of at least 100 yards in a game.
Back-to-back, Ted Ginn. This time, 101 yards.
After 3 years with the Dolphins, Ginn joined the 49ers and started the Jim Harbaugh era off hot in 2011.
Ted Ginn down the sideline. Ted Ginn, touchdown.
Wherever he played, the playoffs followed. After his stint with the Niners, he suited up for the Panthers, Cardinals, Saints, and Bears, all in playoff seasons. He amassed close to 16,000 all-purpose yards in a great 14-year career. Kevin Williams was a highly touted weapon coming out of Miami and took 4 kicks to the house in his first 2 NFL seasons.
If he doesn't run out of gas, he's going to score.
Williams played 4 seasons in Dallas before pacing the league in kick return yardage with Arizona in 1997, 12,000 career all-purpose yards for the lethal returner. Hard to see why Tamarick Vanover was snubbed from the 95 Pro Bowl, 3 return touchdowns as a rookie, while the AFC sent Glenn Milburn, who had none. Vanover was sensational in his short career, 8 kicks taken to the house in just 5 years in KC. And finally, we have Brandon Tate, who didn't start returning punts until he got to Cincinnati in 2011. The former Patriots receiver led the league in punt returns that season and finished his 10-year career with over 9,000 all-purpose yards.
Tate will score! Wow!